Hello, this is Ron Brown again. I am going to discuss group rotation based upon the industry groups in HGSI, and this fits into that category of what's unique in HGSI. Now, I am looking at the ranking module, and I'm in the industries folder. Now, HGSI, of course, is built for top-down prospecting, among other things. This is one approach you can use. Now, the view that I'm using here is, or the ranking method is Slow relative strength. It's named after my former partner who unfortunately passed away a little over a year and a half ago. But this ranking is similar to what you'll find in other programs and newspapers like IBD and so on. It's a longer term look at the market. And specifically, this ranking method is built upon the last 6 months, and 70% of the ranking is the last 3 months. So as we approach the end of the year here, I'm doing this on December 19th with data from the 18th. If we look back 3 months, we would be somewhere in this area here. So you can see that nothing much was happening with this group at that time, the insurance services and other index, and it took off after that, and then it shot to the top of the list. Remember, 70% of that ranking is in here with the other 30% in the prior 3 months. And if we look up here at the top, you can see the numbers. It was green here, and then as it went through that consolidation period, the group, it was somewhere in here, and then in September, it jumped from 69 to 92. So it is responsive because this is where September begins, right here on this vertical line, and it shot up very quickly. So it is responsive, but it's not as responsive as the view that we get in the warehouse module, and that's where I'm going next. So I'm going to click through to the warehouse module, and I'm using these are available to everybody on the website, Ron Brown 2017 1104 end of day, and I'm going to use these two views, the top two, top-down analysis and demand supply. Now I'm sorting on raw combo, and the combo ranking is what drives these groups to the top of the list. And if I go to the top by clicking over here in the upper left-hand corner, you can see that the consumer electronics and appliance store index is on top, followed by rubbers and plastic, wealth management, and so on. Now, I'm going to go back to that ranking module. I'll click on insurance services and other index. I will click back through to the warehouse, and you can see that this index, based upon this combo ranking, and for those of you who may not know, the combo ranking is based upon fields that are available in HGSI, and they can be weighted. Now this is a combo I put together based upon moving average extensions and also the percentage price change the past 5 days. So it is more responsive than the ranking module, of course. Now as I look across here, you can see that the percentage price change for this index over 1 day and the last 5 days, here's 2.8% for 1 day, 6.4% for 5 days, and that, because I'm in the industries folder, I'm going to get the same numbers here are very close as I am to the industry percentage price change over here. There's a slight difference. They're rounded differently, or one's rounded and the other is not. So here I need to get back up to the top. Sorry about that. Anyway, I usually just look over here at the industry percentage price change 5 days, and you can see that the combo is doing its job because it drove this group to the top of the list, or these top groups are all up here, and they've all had positive gains. Now if I go here to the left side, click on this, and go down to the bottom, you can see that over the past 5 days, the telecom resellers index was down 4.5%, and it was up 0.85% yesterday, which was a strong day in the market. But this combo does an excellent job of getting these groups in the position where they are based upon the short term. Now, if I use the same folder of industries and go down to demand supply, this raw combo is sorted on advancers versus decliners. So yesterday I can see that the precious metal and mining index had 24 advancers and no decliners, and it was up 1.6% or 4.5%. Now looking at this long term, if I click through to the ranking module, you can see that the precious metal and mining index is clear down here at the bottom or near the bottom at 125. So the advantage of using both the top-down analysis and the demand supply or sorting by advancers versus decliners is we get a view of what's happening in the short term compared to the long-term view in the ranking module. What this view does, or these two views do, is they give us an idea of what is happening now, and this view in particular gives us an idea of what may be happening with short-term rotation, as you saw with the precious metal and mining, which is clear near the bottom of the list in the ranking module. So you can see that this index has not done much, but over the past 5 days it has moved, and let me look at that number again, 4.5%. But the advancing issues versus the declining issues is an indication that there is money flowing into these stocks. Home builders are 23 to 0 with 1 unchanged. So this is how I look at short-term and long-term industry group strength. We are not limited to long-term strength like the newspaper, like IBD and some of the other sites that use relative strength. HGSI builds its own indexes, and mine are weighted with market cap weighting rather than equal dollar weighting. That's just something that I prefer. In fact, I'll show you that right now. And as I go into the preferences and go into global index options, you can see that I use 2 years rather than 1 year. I use 104 weeks, and I'm using market value weighted index to give more emphasis to the larger cap stocks. I use the default filter. So I'm going to cancel this, and that's my setup. Now another nice feature of HGSI is we can, if you go under the tools menu and go down to tile, ranking, and warehouse horizontally, we have both the, I'll get this out of the way, we have both the warehouse view and the ranking module. And if you click up here and click on your home key, it takes you to the top. So I'm going to, once again, I'm going to use this precious metal and mining example or index example. I am in the warehouse. I'm going to click through to the ranking module, and you can see that it's clear down at number 125. If I go to Home Builders and click through to the ranking module, you can see that it's near the top at number 8. So this tells me there's short-term strength in the Home Builders and also long-term strength. As I look at the Home Builders Index, you can see that it was red back here, then it turned to yellow, and then it turned to green on the 20th of October. Now these are obviously from week to week, so let's just look at this chart. And I'll put a crosshair on here, the 20th of October. It turned from yellow to green, so it moved up and then it consolidated, it expanded, contracted, consolidated, and then started moving up again, and it turned green here, and you can see that this index took off. Now another thing you can do is I'm going to use the warehouse view. I'm just going to currently I'm in the number 2, the advancers versus decliners. I'm going to change to the industry group, and then I'll bring my quick pick back into view. And all you have to do is go down to the Scorecard End-of-Day. And it uses a combo that I call intraday end of day. It is a combo that I've used for a long time, and it's going to tell me the stocks that are strongest based upon this combo ranking. You can use it for intraday or end of day, and it's weighted accordingly. It has some fundamental information, or fundamental and technical information is what I meant to say. So it shows that LGI is the top stock. So I'll bring up LGI, and you can see this is a beautiful stock in a long-term trend. Now here is the group line. The dotted line represents the group line, and this is I'm using my number 2 view right here under featured charts because it has the fan, which indicates long-term strength, and it has the industry group line, and also the volume point of control. The bulls have been in charge of this throughout this area here. Had a little dip here, which corresponds to this, and then the bulls took over again. The VPA flags, here's an effort to rise and another one yesterday. I'll get rid of the crosshair by clicking on my alternate C keys so we get a closer view of this. Let's just look at the next one, DR Horton. Very, very strong stock. And this combo does a good job of locating the strongest stocks at the top. And let's go down and take a look at Lennar here. You can see that it kind of moved with it, but it's not nearly as strong as the top two. So this is a way you can use the warehouse module and the ranking module together to look for both short and long-term strength. And I need to go back to my top-down view here. And just remember that this combo on here will find stocks that have moved up or they're extended up from the moving averages, and they have had a nice move over the past 5 days. You can see that. And compare this to the longer term. Here's consumer electronics and appliances, strong at number 10 out of 176. But this gives us a more immediate view of what's happening now. Then you just right mouse click, change to the industry group. Then you go to the scorecard end of day, and it will show you the top ranked stocks based upon that combo ranking. If you really want to see what happened the last day, use number 2 view for the advancing versus declining issues. And the reason for this is you can sometimes, if it follows through, you can find groups that are beginning to rotate in or continuing their strength, like in the home builders. Now the semiconductor devices, there's been a correction there, but yesterday you can see it was very strong, up 61 advancers and only 3 decliners. If I bring this chart up, here's the correction, but you can see that money has started flowing back into the semiconductors, at least in the short term. Thank you for listening. I'm going to cover this really in depth. I'm starting a webinar series sometime in January, and we'll get into this a lot more in depth. But this just goes to show you more unique features of HGSI and what you can do with this program that you cannot do with other programs. If you want to, you can start from the sector level and work down. I really see no reason to do that, though. Sectors are too broad. I would rather concentrate on the industry groups.